Hello everyone, welcome to Miss Lee's class. Today we're going to learn relating fraction, decimal, and percent. So after today's lesson, you will be able to convert percent to fraction, percent to decimal, decimal to fraction, and decimal to percent. Alright? Okay, what does percent means, everyone? Percent means out of 100. So when you change percent to fraction, you can simply get rid of percent sign and you just put division bar and 100. So rewrite the value of percent over 100 and remove percent sign. That's what you have to do. So 23%. So you remove percent sign and put division bar and 100. So 23% is 23 over 100. 12.6% is 12.6 over 100. But if the numerator is a decimal, 12.6% is 12.6 is a decimal number. So you multiply 10 to both numerator and denominator to make it a whole number. So when you multiply the same number, 10, then it becomes 126 over 1,000. Okay, so make 12.6% to 126 over 1,000 by multiplying 10 to both numerator and the denominator. And we always need to reduce to lowest terms when possible. So the simplest form of this is, so you divide both number by 2. 126 divided by 2 is 63. 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. So make it to a lowest term. So this is how to change from percent to fraction. So remember, so you get rid of percent sign and put division bar and 100. So make it out of 100. So 23% means 23 out of 100. All right? Okay, percent to decimal. Write the percent as a fraction, then divide the numerator by the denominator. So we know how to change a percent to a fraction. And what you do is, this is a division bar, so this is same as division. So in your calculator, you put 23.1 divided by 100. Okay, so let's do it using your calculator. 23.1 divided by 100. Then it becomes 0.231. So 0.231. So as you see, 23.1% became 0.231. So if you want to use a faster way, if you want to use a shortcut way of converting a percent to a decimal, what you do is you just simply erase, simply get rid of percent sign and move 2 decimal places to the left. Then it becomes 0.231, right? So when you convert percent to a decimal, I want you to write it down. Get rid of percent and move 2 decimal places to the left. So here, 5%. Get rid of the percent sign. You move 2 decimal places to the left. Becomes 0.05. Same thing. 24%. Remove percent sign and you move 2 decimal places. It becomes 0.24. So same thing for 115%, get rid of the percent sign, move 2 decimal places. Then it becomes 1.15. I want you to do this by yourself. 15.7%. You have to get rid of the percent sign. And your decimal place is here. So starting from here, you move 2 decimal places. Then that becomes 0.157. Okay? So this is a shortcut way of doing this. Alright? Next, a decimal to a fraction. So we're going to follow the step. Step 1, rewrite the decimal as a fraction with a denominator of 1. Step 2, multiply the numerator and the denominator by multiple of 10 to the power of n, where n equals the number of digits after the decimal. And reduce to the lowest term. Alright, here we have 0.12. So you're going to change this to a fraction, 12 over 100. So this is how you change this to a fraction. First, you're going to make this to this. You're going to make this to a fraction with the denominator 1. So 0.12 over 1. And then you're going to multiply 100 because you have 2 decimal places. You multiply 100 because 100 has 2 zeros. And it becomes 12 over 100. So simply, when you change from decimal number to a fraction, you count the number of decimal places. You have 2 decimal places. Then you write 2 zeros in the bottom. And that becomes 100. So you have to think about one number has 2 zeros among multiple of 10s. That's 100. And 12 over 100. So write down 12 in the top. So 0.12 becomes 12 over 100. Okay? And after that, you're going to reduce this fraction. So 12 divided by 4 becomes 3. 100 divided by 4 becomes 24. Make sense, everyone? So for example, I'm going to give you guys another example. If you have, say you have 0.347. How many decimal places do you have? You have 3 decimal places. So what you're going to do is you're going to write 3 zeros. And the bottom should be multiple of 10. The bottom should be 10,000. 347 should be in the top. So when you change decimal to a fraction, it becomes 347 over 1,000. Let's do another example. Say you have 1.2. Then everyone, 1.2, how many decimal places do you have? You have only 1 decimal place. Then your bottom should be 10. Because you have to put only 1 zero here. Okay, and your top should be 12. You're not done yet. You have to reduce the fraction. So let's divide both number by 2. Then that is 6 over 5. So this is the answer. So you should be able to change decimal to a fraction. So what's important is you have to count the number of decimal places, 1, 2, 3, and that becomes the number of zeros in the bottom. Count the number of decimal place. That is same as the number of 0 in the bottom. Alright? Okay, next, decimal to percent. Okay, so to make decimal to percent, when you have 0.12, you just simply move 2 decimal places. Then that becomes 12%. So that's the same as just multiplying 100 to the decimal number. Okay? So say you have 0.35. To change this to a percent, you move 2 decimal places to the left. That's 35%. Okay, and say you have 0.137%. What is this, everyone? That's 2 decimal places to the right. That's 13.7%. Or say you have 1.2. What is this? 2 decimal places to the left, to the right, it becomes 120%. Right? So we learned how to change percent to fraction, percent to decimal, decimal to fraction, and decimal to percent. So you should be able to go back and forth. All right, everyone? And let's move on. Example 1. Write each percent as a fraction and as a decimal. Okay, I want you to pause the video and try example 1 and shade the percent in the 100th chart to represent each percent. Okay, so 7%, 7.75%, and 7 and 1/4%. Go ahead, everyone. All right, let's do it together. 7%. Let's change the 7% to a fraction first and then decimal. So to change this to a fraction, as I said, percent means out of 100. So we're going to get rid of percent and out of 100. So that's 7/100. And let's change this to a decimal number. So what you do is get rid of percent sign, move 2 decimal places to the left. Then that's 0.07. This one, 7.75 out of 100. And everyone, we don't really want to have decimal number in the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply. So how many decimal places do you have? 2 decimal places. In that case, you need 2 zeros. So you multiply 100. Multiply 100. And that becomes 775 over 10,000. And everyone, we want to reduce the fraction. So let's reduce the fraction. Let's divide both number by 5. And that becomes 155. And that is 2,000. And we're not done yet. We're going to divide both number by 5 again. And that becomes 31/400. So this is the answer. This is the fraction. And decimal. Decimal is more straightforward. Here, so decimal is, you can just move 2 decimal places to the left. So 0.0775. That's a decimal number. And C, so before we change this to a fractions, we're going to change this first. Change this percent first. 1/4, everyone. 1/4 is what in decimal? So 1 divided by 4. If you don't know, I want you to use your calculator. So 1/4 is a quarter, so that is 7.25%. So we're not going to use this. We're going to use 7.25% instead. So 7.25%. Let's change this to a fraction. 7.25 over 100. So what you do is just get rid of percent, make it out of 100, like this. And again, we don't really like to have decimal number in a fraction. Multiply 100, that becomes 725, 10,000. And let's divide both number by, so this time we're just gonna do it at once. So let's divide both number by 25. 725 divided by 25 is 29. So use your calculator to figure it out. 10,000 divided by 25 is 400. So the answer is 29/400. And decimal.
Again, you're going to just change this to move the decimal place, 2 decimal places to the left, then that is 0.0725. Okay, so we're done. And we're going to shade each percent on the grid here. 7%. So let's shade 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7.75. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0.75 is 3/4, right, everyone? 75 cents is 3/4. So 0.75 is 3/4. So we're going to break this into 4 pieces, and we're going to shade 3 of them. Okay? And 7 1/4. You shade 7 squares and break this into 4 pieces, and you're going to shade 1 of them, 1/4. Okay? All right. Let's move to example 2. Write each decimal as a fraction. Okay, how many decimal places do you have here? 2. Then you need 2 zeros. So you do 100. You need 2 zeros in the bottom. So you put 100 in the bottom, and in the top you put 17. Is this the simplest form? If it is, you don't have to simplify. You don't have to reduce. So this is the simplest form. There's no number that can divide both 17 and 100. Now I want you to do B and C by yourself. Go ahead, everyone. All right, have you guys tried it? Let's do it together. So 1.14. So 2 decimal places. So you need 100, 148. So this is not in the lowest term. So we're going to divide both number by 2, or if you just want to do one step, you can just divide both number by 4. So use your calculator to one number you get to get the number 37 over 25. Okay, next you have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. That's 1,025, and you're going to divide both number by 25. And that is 1 over 40. All right. Example 3. Write each fraction as a decimal and as a percent. So 5 over 8. So we're going to change this to a decimal. So to change this to a decimal, let's just use a calculator. 5 divided by 8. So that is 0.625. So write that down. 0.625. And to change this to a percent, you move 2 decimal places to the right. So that's 62.5%. Right? So I want you to do B and C by yourself. Pause the video and do B and C by yourself. Alright, let's do B. 5 divided by 6. So that's 0.83 repeating. So round it. So I'm just going to write 0.83. And that is if you move 2 decimal places to the right, that is 83%. And this one, 5 over 1,000. So we don't actually need to use a calculator for this one. So you have 3 zeros. You have 1,000. You have 3 zeros. That means to make this to be a decimal number, you move 1, 2, 3 decimal places. Then that is 0.005. Okay? So you count the number of zeros and move the decimal places, 3 decimal places, that is 0.005. So that's the decimal number. And to make this be a percent, you move two decimal places to the right. Then that is 0.5%. Okay? So everyone, for example, if you have 23 over 100, so you have 100 here, multiple of 10. You count the number of 0, move 1 to decimal, then that becomes 0.23. So 0.23 is 23%. So when you have a multiple of 10 in the bottom, it's very easy to change it to a decimal number. Okay? So you just simply count the number of 0 and move the decimal places to the left. Make sense, everyone? Okay. Next. Question why 1 over 2 and 1 over 2% represent different number. Shade the hundredths chart to represent each number. So I want you to pause the video and think about why they are different. Okay, did you guys have a chance to think about it? So 1 over 2, everyone. 1 over 2 is basically 1 out of 2. So this is half. Everyone, 1 out of 2 is same as 50 out of 100. Right, everyone? So if you change this to a decimal number, that's 0.5. So we know 0.5 is, if you move two decimal places to the right, that is 50%. So 1 over 2, to represent 1 over 2, you shade 50, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 square. So this is 1 over 2, 50%. But 1 over 2%, everyone, what did I say? Percent is out of 100. So 1 over 2% is 1 over 2 out of 100. It's basically 1 over 2 is 0.5, right? 0.5 square out of 100 square, right? So we shade only 0.5 square out of 100 square. That's the difference. When you see percent, that is out of 100. Make sense, everyone? The last question. Buffy had 23.5 out of 30 on her first math test, and she had 31.5 out of 40 on her second math test. On which test did Buffy do better? Okay, 23.5. Half is 0.5. Remember, everyone, 1 over 2 is 0.5. 23.5 out of 30. 31.5 out of 40. So I want you to change this to a percent and figure out which test is better. So pause the video and I want you to try this question. Go ahead, everyone. Alright, let's do it using a calculator. 23.5 out of 30. So that's 0.783 repeating. 31.5 out of 40. That is 0.7875. Then let's write it down. So if you move two decimal places, it was 0.783 repeating. If you move two decimal places, it becomes 78.3 repeating percent, right? Again, if you move two decimal places, that is 78.75%. Everyone, which one is greater? The second test is greater. You compare 3 and 7. 7 is greater. So the second test is greater. So second test was better. Alright, grade 8, that is it for today. Now I want you to start doing your homework. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.